Hey guys, what is up? Thank you so much for being here tonight. I know a ton of you are already here, and that makes me super, 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 super happy. I think we have a few things to talk about tonight, and since there are so many people here, let's just make this a 45-minute show again. I liked last night's episode because I feel like there was some major clues involved, but because of that, I have kind of narrow down really who I think the other RD is, and we'll talk about that in just a little bit. So I know I see this ad here. Hopefully you guys can hear me. I don't know why they play an ad before this. Very random. Anyway, agree with you. I don't know what your real name is, but I agree that it wasn't the greatest episode. I found it a little bit boring, but I thought the ending was good. I liked that ending. I thought that was cool because before the ending, I was like, man, this is kind of dragging a little bit. I'm not like super into it, but the ending really made it important. Like, not important, but really made it redeemed it, I think. So let me just say hey to you guys. Deja, Jake, Brittany, Tara, Audrey, Mark. If you have like a name on here where it's like a screen name, just let me know what you want me to call you because some of these names I don't even know how to pronounce because they're like screen names. But HM and there's so many people here. Just say hey if I haven't called out your name yet. But anyway, there are some main things I think we need to talk about. Yes, Tony, hi. That is a good point. Where was Denise? I don't know. And I've said before, I really like Denise. And when she's not in an episode, have you guys noticed when she's not in an episode, the episode just isn't that good? Because the last episode that she wasn't in, I felt like it really dragged and it just wasn't that great. Ghazali, I'm hoping I'm saying your name right. Hello. Yes, Jake, the Radwell Thanksgiving. Wow, I did not think that there were people on this earth who were worse than Chad Radwell until we met his family. And I think they are definitely the worst people on this planet. They are just like despicable. Okay, I'm going to get to your comments first, and then I will tell you my new RD theory and a couple of things that I think we should have paid attention to and taken away from this episode. Jake says maybe Denise is the Red Devil. She was the only one not there. I personally think there are at least three people who are Red Devils, one being Boone. Well, shoot, Boone is dead, but Boone was one of them. So Boone was one of them. Two is the sister, the twin, and three is someone else, possibly an adult. So your idea about Denise is, pretty good because I've always felt, as funny as she is, she's quite suspicious, okay? So Tara says that Chanel number 3, her Thanksgiving, she felt bad for her. Chanel number 3 also ends up having a very terrible family who's really into themselves and doesn't even care about her and doesn't care about the fact that there is a freaking serial killer on her college campus. No one even brought that up, so that was really terrible. Deja felt really bad for Hester. Yes, I mean, as rude as Chad's family was to Chanel 1, they were 10 times more rude to Hester, literally. And I think that even Chanel number 1 felt bad for her. That's how rude they were. They were really terrible people. And we all know that Chanel number 1's really not that nice, but she thought they were terrible people. So that just kind of gives you an idea of just how terrible these people were. Ashley says Chanel number 5 is the killer. And that is my new theory. She's the only one whose Thanksgiving was never shown. Absolutely. Do you guys want me to get into why I think that she's the killer? Let me go over some more comments and then I will. I felt like it was pretty much a huge glaring red flag that last night's episode sealed the deal for me, and that's who I'm going to go with. Hi, Nadia. Thank you so much for being here. Hi, Pearson. I love that so many of you are here. For those of us in America, I didn't know how many people would be here because it is the day before Thanksgiving, so I appreciate those of you spending your time with me, and even those of you not in America spending your time with me tonight or today, whatever that is for you. Brittany thinks that Grace could be the Red Devil. She seems suspicious, and Boone is her brother too. Very good point. One of the main things we learned from last night's episode is that Wes is also the father of the twins. I'd actually had this thought before. I don't know if I've ever mentioned it to you guys, but I definitely thought he was probably the father because we hadn't been introduced to any other guys around his age. So it really wouldn't make sense to have a random guy be the father of these twins. So Audrey thinks it was Hester because she was the only one not in the beginning of the episode. Okay, you do have a point there because she did show up late to the Radwell Thanksgiving, so maybe she was with Gigi at her Thanksgiving. I think that we definitely can narrow down even more who the other RD is because the people who were accounted for and the people who were doing things, we saw, you know, like Chanel 3, she was busy. The dean was busy. There were people who were busy and that we saw in a certain location. And I just don't think they're going to make it like, yeah, they were also with Gigi at the hotel and they were at the Kappa house and they were at Chad Radwell's, okay? As much as I want Chad Radwell to be in on this, I'm not really sure right now because since he was with his family and everything, maybe he really is that dumb. I don't know. I'm kind of questioning that theory. You guys are on fire tonight. This is awesome. There's so many comments. If I skip you, I'm not doing it on purpose. Just comment again. Nadia is asking me, what about Pete? I think he's incredibly shady. He doesn't have an alibi that we know of while Gigi was being killed. So something's not right with him. I felt that from the beginning. So we'll see. Andy thinks that Grace is the killer. She never answered to where she was during all those murders. She just deflected. It was kind of strange to me that she was there at the time that the girl was killed with the spray tan stuff. But was that too obvious? I mean, that seems like they were just throwing that out there, you know? That's what I think. Tony says Zayday not going back home was not explained either. It wasn't, and she was at the Kappa house, but maybe she had time to be with Gigi. We also have to think that, again, like I think I talked to you about last week, just because this Red Devil killed Boone and was with Gigi doesn't necessarily mean this is our twin sister. This person could be Pete. It could be Zayday. It could be Denise. So we don't have to think, oh my gosh, it has to be a white girl, you know, in her 20s or, you know, 19 or 18 or 20. Pastel, I do remember you. Is it Ellie? I remember you from PLL. Yes. Or Scream Queens. I'm sorry. I was like, I know I've seen you in here before. Hi, Kay. Thank you for being here. So let's go back to some of your comments. Yes, I thought that Nadia and Gigi's head on the table was absolutely hilarious. There was a lot of moments in the show last night where they were just being over the top silly, which I think is funny. It probably annoys some people who aren't fans of the show, but I thought it was funny. Okay, so Mark says in the flashback where Grace is in the sorority while Melanie has the spray tan, Grace is wearing a shirt with a red letter R, probably because she's the Red Devil. Well, I thought from the beginning that she was, but I changed my mind in this episode because I found the back and forth between the characters pretty hilarious as each one was trying to blame the other for being the killer. Again, I think this show takes so much inspiration from the Scream franchise of movies, which I've loved since I was a kid. Gosh, they're pretty old at this point now, at least the first one. But I think that if you've seen those movies, you will see so many similarities between that and this show. But I also think they use other movies for inspiration. But anyway, I believe maybe in the first or second one, there was a scene where everyone was like, you're the, gosh, I can't think of the guy's name, but you're the killer. And they're like, no, you're the killer. And I really feel like in that movie, the people that were pointed out as the killers were not. So I feel like, you know, it was so obvious here with the people that were being pointed out was a little too obvious to me. And I really don't know if they're going to go with that, but we'll see. Niece, hi, thank you for being here. Ghazali asked, why do I think the RD killed Gigi? Because to be honest, I don't think it's the twin. And I think this is the same person who was having the Thanksgiving dinner was the one who killed Boone. And I think this is an outside person who really has an issue with her and Boone. It doesn't have any feelings toward those people. So I think it could be Pete. I think it could be Denise. Definitely. I think that the twin is another person. Whether or not the twin is out killing people, I'm not really sure, but possibly. What do you think when Hester's body was missing? Asked Nadia. I kind of figured that she wasn't dead, so that wasn't a huge surprise for me. And it seems like absolutely everyone who goes into that meat locker is somehow taken out or is, you know, alive. So I wasn't totally shocked. Brittany asks an important question that I don't know yet. It makes me a little bit worried. But the second to last episode, as a lot of us know, is called Dorcas. Which is the last name of Melanie, which I think I'm getting this right, who was the spray tan victim. I'm very concerned, and as some of you have commented on my videos from last week, you think that perhaps Melanie is the Red Devil, and that really bothers me because for any of you, and I know several of you are Pretty Little Liars fans, I don't want, you know, the killer to be an obscure person or someone we really don't know or that we've just seen in a couple of episodes. That's really upsets me because it's very hard for people who are trying to figure out the show like we are to, figure out who this person is. If you're going to throw some random person, it makes it no fun to try to spend all this time and to have these shows and try to figure out who people are when it's going to be someone that we couldn't really figure out. My favorite character, Pastel is asking me, I guess your name's Ellie. Hope I'm saying that right. I honestly love Denise. I mean, she makes every show amazing. I could really feel her absence. And I like Gigi. I think as evil as she was, she's funny. But honestly, gosh, hold on. I don't know how I'm forgetting this. Probably Chad Radwell's my favorite because he's so ridiculous and so over the top stupid. And he just always makes me laugh. Was I surprised when Wes turned out to be the twins' father? No, Deja, that's a really good point, which I think I've talked about just a little bit in this show. But no, I really felt like it had been him. And I don't know why I never kind of talked to you guys about that. But when that was revealed last night, I was like, yep, I called that one. Because, like I said, there's no other guy that we were introduced to around that age. And I'm so glad they didn't make it like some mystery guy who we never met or just try to introduce some random guy at the end of this series. So Tony says, why didn't Gigi tell RD to unmask himself like Boone did when the three of them were together? I think that Gigi believed perhaps either she really trusted this person and she knew who they were, or it could be, which I really think, this is what I think is true. I think that this person who killed Boone, I think she thought it was someone else who it wasn't. And I think there is a person who was kind of pretending or standing in to be a third Red Devil. I don't think it was the person who Boone thought it was or who she thought it was. That's what I think. So Brittany will hate it if Melanie is the baby or the twin. Okay. It just makes no sense. She's not in the show and she's not the right age. Right. So I really hope they're not going to go down that road. That's going to make me be afraid of like every show doing the same crap that PLL did, just to be honest. Go Kai. Hey, thanks for being here. Oh, so Ashley thinks that Dorcas is Chanel number 5, the real name. So do you think that, okay, Ashley, look what Ashley's figured out here. This is what I think you figured out. I think that you're telling us that Chanel 5 is Melanie's sister who would have the perfect reason for revenge, but maybe she's not a twin. Okay, now that is something I can totally get behind. Let me talk to you really quickly about, okay, Ellie, thanks for being here. Have a good day at school. But let me talk to you really quickly about why I think Chanel number 5 was super suspicious. She was already mega suspicious from other episodes because she's been left alone with the killer twice. She's had such a good opportunity to be killed that the killer has passed up on her twice, which is just more than a little weird. But last night, it really kind of screamed at me when she showed up late to the Kappa house. She made up some kind of story about she went to her family, but they were on vacation and she didn't know. That seemed totally a lie to me. She was late enough to have the perfect opportunity to be in that Red Devil costume and to kill Gigi. I don't know. To me, I just really feel like she's not suspicious enough to be the killer. They haven't, really, she doesn't seem like a mean person, although she does. She did make like those toenail cookies, right? But she doesn't scream like, I don't get these major vibes from her, and I don't think other people do in the, the characters that she is the killer. I don't really think anyone believes that. And again, I definitely think our people who are going to be our killers or killer will be people that are not suspected heavily, okay? As Kay says, we didn't see her family. Honestly, I agree with you, Nadia. I'm not really feeling the Chanel 5 character. So I really think if she's not going to end up being the RD and the person who killed Gigi and Boone, I think she's tied into this story somehow. I really liked Ashley's idea. I hadn't thought of that. I like that. Niece is kind of sad that Gigi died. So am I. As much as she was not a nice person, I thought her personality and like her demeanor and stuff in the show was just super cool. I love the whole, I don't know, she's stuck in the 90s and wearing the 90s clothes, and she was so sarcastic, but yeah, hilarious. And I will miss her. But I felt like she would not live too much longer. Duran is all assuming that Gigi was killed by the RD, but it might be the Dean. She was jealous. She's killed before. She also cut the head of the turkey, like she might have cut Gigi's head. Again, I do not think that this RD is the RD Gigi thought it was. I think it was someone else in the costume. I think that Boone assumed it was his sister. And after this episode, I think that is also what Gigi was thinking, that it was the baby she'd helped to raise. I don't think that was true at all. So I guess it could possibly be the dean, but the only problem I have with that is it seems like she was at the Kappa house, that entire time, unless the timelines were off there. Okay, let me scroll down here. There are a lot of comments, which I absolutely love. Again, if I skip over you, just comment again, because they start flying by and I can't go back and find them. All right, so Pearson says number 5 was the only one in the kitchen. She could have switched the turkey with the head. That's something else maybe we should be paying attention to, is who was able to get Gigi's head in there. I think she's the perfect candidate. Again, she showed up late. She brought some food, right? I think this all kind of comes together. I do want Grace to be the killer, because at first I felt like that was very non-obvious, but it did I felt like it kind of put a lot of holes into my theory last night, because they pointed way too many fingers at Grace for me, and I didn't feel comfortable anymore with her being my main suspect, because it just became too obvious, and I don't know if they're going to go down that route. Although I found it odd that she was at the sorority house when the Melanie stuff went down, but again, that to me just seems like over the top obvious. I don't know. Audrey says just to say that she likes that the writers don't introduce a new character to each episode like Pretty Little Liars. Yeah, I think that is something that is very smart that they're doing, especially since this is a one-season show. We can't carry on anyone to next season. So at this point, to introduce new people would be ridiculous. I'm hoping they don't do that. I'm hoping that the finale doesn't pull out random people who have been involved in this or behind the scenes. That would make me really upset. So, Brittany says when Chanel number 5 said that Chanel pranked her by sending her an email supposedly by her mom saying that she was adopted and she was born with fetal alcohol syndrome was really suspicious to me. Yes. And I agree with you. And I think that Chanel 5 just has a really like manic personality and attitude. She always seems like she can't feel settled or something. Like she's just like her head is like spinning. And I don't know. She seems really stressed, and I don't know why, other than she's like killing people or she's somehow participating in all of this. That's what I kind of think. Pearson thinks that number 5 is the killer because she was the only one in the kitchen, like we talked about, able to switch that turkey with Gigi's head. Jennifer, hey, thanks for being here. That's okay that you just finished the episode. I'm glad you still stopped by. Jamal says maybe it's Zayday. It could be. Again, I think the RD who killed Gigi really opens up a lot of possibilities, because I do not believe that's the twin. But I think Chanel number 5 could be that twin, is basically what I'm saying. As Tony is saying here, Chanel number 5 is unstable. I agree with you. There's something just not right with the way that she's always so uptight and literally has like anxiety issues all the time. It seems like we don't know what that is, what's causing that, but perhaps it's because she's doing a lot of extracurricular activity with working with Red Devils or Gigi or killing people or whatever. Dren says, I know you kind of explained it, but what is your theory overall? And I definitely think Grace's mom is involved in this somehow. Thank you. I know. I'm sorry. I think I've been kind of all over the place with the theories, but I'll tell you, like, basically with every new episode, I get kind of new ideas. And I felt like this episode was really like screaming at me that Chanel 5 was involved, which I thought before, but it just seemed really obvious this time. I have said before to you guys that Grace's mom, I believe, is still alive. And I don't think that person was Gigi. I really don't think we've met her. I just think, we may meet her. We may find out she's alive in the end. But my new theory is, let's try to narrow this down, my overall theory is that the person who killed Boone and Gigi is not the twin sister. It could be, it's the same person. They killed both people, but it could be a long list of people from Zayday to Denise to Pete. I think Pete is very, very shady. I also think that it's a very good chance that Chanel number 5 is this twin sister. I don't believe any of her background story. We don't know anything about her family. And last night put her in a place where she definitely could have been. That Red Devil, if it, I don't know. I don't really think, this is getting confusing. I don't really think that maybe the twin is the RD, but I think that she could definitely be the twin. I hope this makes sense. I think there are 2 people involved who we don't know about, at least. So I think that there is that twin sister who we don't know the identity of, and I think there's another person doing the killings, which I kind of feel like is an adult, but I could be wrong. Jake says that Jennifer's ghost is here. Get her some candles so she can rate them. She's definitely probably in this chat room right now. I hope she's a nice ghost. So Mark says at the end of episode 9, Boone asked the RD, where is Gigi? And when Gigi wasn't home yet, Yes, but if you listen again, he actually says, where is she, G? Maybe it was G for Grace, and she was in the RD suit. Really? Well, I didn't catch that, and I watched that twice. But what I will say about that is I still don't think that Grace, even if she is the twin, or not the twin, but even if she's involved, I don't think that she was the one who did the killings. But don't you also remember when, didn't they ask about Zayday? And like, who else is best friends with Zayday besides Grace? So I thought that was really, really shady too. So Deja says it would have been cool if Billy Lord's daughter, or Billy Lord's Chanel No. 3 mom, Carrie Fisher, guest starred as Chanel No. 3's mother. That would have been cool. I found her family to be really strange. Her dad was like really Southern, and she isn't. She doesn't have an accent at all. It cracks me up. I mean, they're basically playing off of the Swanson frozen dinners, which I don't even know if those are made anymore, but they just changed it to Swenson. But I don't know. There's probably some inside jokes in that I don't really get, because that's what Ryan always does. So HM says, I know that they pointed the finger at Wes a lot this episode at Well, but he has the shadiest facial expressions. I have thought that Wes was involved somehow for the longest time. I'm not really sure if I'm buying the whole he didn't know that he was the dad thing. I think there's a lot more to him than we know, and I'm hoping that's going to be revealed, but we only have, what, like 2 episodes left? So I would just assume that definitely the next episode is going to be really epic, and then probably the one after, obviously, is going to be amazing, because we have to put all the pieces together at that time. And what I love about this show is that they have to resolve everything, which is great. There's not going to be any cliffhangers or anything, because there is no more show, after 2 more episodes. So Brittany also heard that. So, okay, that is such a huge thing, and I don't know how I missed it, but apparently, hi Connor, how are you? Apparently, Boone was calling this person in the Red Devil suit G, which he thought was his sister. Who else is has that initial besides Grace? That makes me go back. Like, that makes me feel good, though, because I've said all along that it was her, and I've changed my mind after last night's episode, but now I'm just thinking that it's possibly her again. This is such a confusing show, but I think that's really good, because, hey, if we could figure it out super easy, then it wouldn't really be worth watching. Okay. Tara says, when Grace was walking through the house in the flashback when they showed No. 3, she wasn't wearing her earmuffs, and I didn't recognize her at first. You're right. She had really long. Okay. That's something that I think maybe is pretty important. I remember looking at that and thinking that she looked really differently, because it was Chanel 3 and Chanel 5 standing together, and they both had like really pretty, their hair was like down and pretty. So Tara, I wonder why she wasn't wearing her earmuffs. That has to mean something. Wow. So Jake says it's way too late to only have 4 survivors. So I feel like a lot of people are probably going to get killed next week, or they may just leave it for, the finale and just have a killing spree. Sammy says, did Hester die? No, she was actually alive. She somehow survived and said that her spine was doing better now. It's pretty funny. HM says that's true. Grace was shown to be eating the nachos with Zayday. Yeah, I mean, Grace is like Zayday's best friend. So it was kind of interesting to me that Boone asked somebody who was his twin, like how Zayday was, and who would know other than Grace, because they're like BFF. Jamal loved when Chanel stuck up for Hester and told Chad's family off. I love that, because Chanel's not a very nice person, but we actually saw her have a nice moment. And when she's calling out somebody for being terrible and a family for being terrible, they are, because she's not nice at all. Nadia says Grace has to be the girl because Wes is the father of the babies. That's a clue. Okay. Like I've said, yeah. Maybe when I talk to you guys, it's so cool, because you guys make me question like what I think, and now I'm back on the Grace is the, the twin thing. Well, she can't be like the twin though, right? I mean, right? Or could she be? That's what I want to know. Is she the twin? Is she the twin? That's what I want to hear from you guys. I don't know. Okay, so Nadia says it's a 2-hour finale, which I didn't know, which is awesome. So a lot of crazy stuff could go down in 2 hours. I mean, really. Goka's asked me what I think of the Swanson family, or the Swinson family. I was wondering why we saw so much of Chanel three's family. I don't get that. So I don't know if that's telling us that she's more important than we think. She didn't seem to fit in with them at all. I don't know. Maybe she was adopted or something. It was really weird. I don't know if that was, I know that Ryan loves to do inside jokes and everything. And like I said, that's a takeoff of these Swanson frozen dinners, which I don't even think get made anymore. But I don't know if that was just something for his amusement or what. Like her dad seemed weird to me. He didn't seem anything like her. I'm not sure. Nate still thinks that Chanel number 3 is the killer. Her dad said she was late to Thanksgiving, maybe because she was with Gigi first. Yeah, again, like I'm saying, the fact that we saw 2 families, one of them was Chad Radwell's, and I think we saw that because that was just, they were so ridiculous and hilarious. I don't think that means that he's involved necessarily, but the whole thing spent on, Chanel 3 was really strange, and I feel like, yeah, there has to be a reason for that. So I know, Jamal, the episode next week is called Black Friday, and it does look really good because they're like locked in a store in the mall or something. I thought that looked really cool. So Kay says also when the RD made the Oakland nachos for Zayday, Grace could have told Boone that Zayday likes them, right? Because that was like something that no one knew about, and Grace had to be the one to tell them about that. So it was kind of funny that Boone made those nachos. I agree. Sammy, did you not watch this episode? I'll tell you though. How did Gigi die? Someone chopped her head off. The guy or the person in the RD outfit had like a electric knife in the hotel, and I think that he just chopped her head off. Which, if you think about it, I mean, this show is not very realistic, but it takes a lot of like power and strength to cut someone's head off, not to be so super gross. But I'm not sure that's something a girl could pull off, especially a really small girl like Grace. So again, I think maybe this was a guy or something. So Tony says it seemed like Chanel number 3's mom maybe got remarried when she was young, and her mom takes her stepdad's side, maybe. Yeah, I mean, because Chanel 3 says that her dad isn't that guy, but that guy was really weird and annoying. Ghazali says, wasn't the school closed down because of the murders? How are they still there? Yeah, I mean, technically it was supposed to be closed down, but I guess they left the sorority houses open. I don't know. So strange. Yes, Jamal, Charles Manson is supposed to be Chanel's 3's father, although people like the dean or like maybe she's making that up. I don't know. So Mark says when Wes was spying on Grace talking to the RD, she was wearing the same clothes as she was in one scene in the pilot where the RD was stalking her. Okay, that is something that I kind of thought her dad was going to bring up last night. But maybe that was just Pete. But he said, her dad said he saw her meet with the RD. And do you remember, like you're bringing up, Mark, she saw like the RD staring at her at one point, and they've kind of never gone back to that. But maybe she's going to explain that and say that that was Pete. But let's just be real, because, that's kind of a lame excuse that Pete dressed up as the Red Devil to let people know what the Red Devil looked like. I mean, I'm not really sure if I'm buying that. What are you thinking? I don't know. Gokai says Chad's family was more interesting and funny. Yeah, they were really funny. They were crazy. They were terrible, terrible people. Sammy, that is totally fine. You just skimmed through the episode. I can answer any of your questions because I don't think we'll spoil anything. I think everyone else here saw the episode, so I don't think me telling you what happens is going to make anyone upset. So HM says Grace's dad admitted to sleeping around a lot without protection. It's very possible that he fathered 3 children in this time period, Grace and the twins. I absolutely believe that that is true. I think he is the father of all of them, 100%. Tony says, yes, it did to me. I agree with you. Feel like she covered up for Pete really fast. The only thing that bothers me about all that stuff in last night's episode was that when they're actually pointing people out and giving like all this, all these reasons as to why they are involved, it just felt too obvious, do you know what I'm saying? Like, I just feel like, oh my gosh, they're just like laying it all out here. Surely this is not going to be that simple, and that's going to be the answer. I mean, that can't be what they're going to come up with. The finale is what they told us 2 episodes before. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just don't see them going that route. That's just a weird way to handle it. Nat, yes, Natty, hi, thank you for being here. Jamal says Deaf Taylor Swift was the only body not in the haunted house. Really? Do we not see her in the haunted house? I felt like we did, but maybe I've forgotten. Chanel thought that Chad proposed, but he didn't. Yeah, he gave her some kind of necklace, which means that she was allowed to come to the family Thanksgiving. I think that was in last week's episode, because he's just ridiculous. I mean, everything he does is so silly. Jennifer says Hester and Gigi both mentioned the same quote with having a sharp knife to cut flesh. Gigi said at the beginning of the episode with the RD, and Hester said at the end of the table. Yes, she said it. Yeah, she said it at the Kappa house, didn't she, Hester? And I think maybe Chanel number 3 said that was really, really weird. I don't know. I mean, Hester has been on my radar for the longest time. And actually, last week's episode, I felt like she could totally be the twin because she kind of looks like Boone. But then when they sort of killed her, but did, I thought, well, maybe she's dead, but now she's not. Again, it's hard to figure out. Who's with me? I think it's hard to figure out. I did, Nadia, think that it was very odd that Chad came back to the Kappa house because I thought that Chanel and him had broken up. So I don't understand that. That was really strange. And then she just like totally forgave him and took him back. That was so weird. Gokai says, this is the explanation to all who have been asking. Chanel number 3's mom remarried. Her real father is Charles Manson. Right. So this guy that we saw, the really rich guy, was a stepfather. I don't know if her dad really is even Charles Manson. Who knows? Like, who knows if that's true? Possibly. Dren heard somewhere that one of the 3 alternative endings is that Hester is the RD, the bathtub baby, and then, well, I don't know if I should read all this. The only thing about that is that some people get really upset with possible spoilers, but I do appreciate it. I'll read it myself, but I don't know if I should read it all out loud just because I've done that before in live chats and people were not happy. Okay, Gokai says, I'm beginning to be convinced that Hester, Chanel number 6, is the other Red Devil because the other Red Devil is slow, and if you guys watch how she was walking toward the stairs, yeah, I mean, because she does have I don't know if the neck brace affects how fast she can walk. I'm not sure. Tony says, did Denise run off to collect her payment from Chanel? I don't know. I really don't know where she was in this episode. But I guess maybe she was at home or something because everyone was supposed to be celebrating Thanksgiving. I'm not really sure. Nat thinks that Chanel is Boone's twin. Which Chanel? But not the Red Devil killer. I think the reason Mrs. Bean was okay with Chanel treating her like crap was because of her past. Okay, so you think that Chanel number 1 is Boone's twin. Why do you think that? Ashley, hey, thank you for being here. Nat said she felt bad for her. You're probably talking about Hester now and Chanel 1. I don't know. Naughty says the only reason why Pete said it was Grace's dad is to keep the heat off himself. Yep, I can definitely see that. And Pete was like really over the top trying to convince people on that theory. Which honestly, why would he do that? Because he even kind of said it. Like, if you like someone's daughter, like, why are you trying to make her dad look super guilty? I mean, even if you felt that way, would you say that to him? I mean, that was kind of crazy. Oh, Ashley thinks thinks on some level that Chad felt bad about Chanel. Yeah, maybe in some small corner of his little black heart. He felt bad for the way his family treated her, and maybe that's why he came to the Kappa house. Ashley says if you look on Instagram, there are real photos from the set of the Chanels minus Hester being arrested. That's interesting. Thank you, Ashley. Ashley Summer. Brittany says Chanel's a senior. Tony says maybe there's a Chanel number 5 and the Dean connection. Yeah, and I would not be surprised, and I think I've said this to you guys before, if they don't try to connect Jamie Lee Curtis in a big way at the end, because just of her history and of how iconic that she is as an actress. Jay thinks the killers are Pete and Chanel 3. Okay. Kay says, did they say why Grace and Zayday were there? Weren't they going to see Zayday's family? That's what they said in the last episode. I can't remember. Did Zayday have an explanation for that? Because I don't remember. Nee says, who do you think is going to survive this season? Definitely Chanel number 1. I think Chad Radwell. I think Grace and Hester. That's kind of what I think. Nadia also thinks it's weird that Wes blamed Grace. Yeah. Who blames their kid? I mean, on another side note about that, I just feel like that show is kind of so silly that they're going to do some non-traditional things like that other shows wouldn't do, where they're blaming their, girlfriend's dad or blaming their own daughter, just to kind of be funny in a weird way. I don't know. Nat thinks that Chanel is Boone's twin. I guess you're talking about Chanel number 1, but got adopted by a rich family, and that's why Gigi and Boone and the 3rd Red Devil are targeting Kappa Kappa Tau. I've thought that before. I thought it was weird with Chanel's family, and that doesn't all connect to me. So, yeah. Sammy thinks that Chanel number 5 is Boone's twin. I just want to say we only have 2 episodes left, and pretty much everyone feels like someone else is involved in this. And I think unless they let us down totally in the finale, I think that just shows you how good the show is, because we still don't really know. And it's really hard to figure out, okay? So I'm just hoping they don't let us down, but I feel like, hey, this is showing you what a good show is, because we don't know. So many people everyone's saying something different. You might think one person's involved, but somebody else will think that person and someone else is involved, you know? Brittany says Pete was so funny in this episode. He bribed the coroner with weed. Yeah, I mean, he's funny. He's a funny character. I like his character. Mark feels like we got to see Chad and Chanel, number 3's families, because they're going to be 2 out of the 4 or 5 surviving characters. That could definitely be true. I'm not like crazy about Chanel number 3 as a character, but she could survive, sure. Drin says, this episode actually just made it a bit more difficult for me to find out who is the RD, and I think there has remained only one RD. Yeah, it is hard. I agree. Ashley thinks that Chanel number 5 is the other killer, and that's what I went into this chat thinking. But it's confusing because, like I said, when I talk to you guys, I'm like, okay, am I right or what? I don't know. Tony says, I think he blamed her kind of like in Harry Potter when Snape was secretly protecting Dumbledore and Harry. Okay, that makes sense. That definitely makes sense. Maybe they're both in on it. I don't know. Gokai says Chanel number 5's crazy mixed meat stew. Ew. Nadia says, I wish they didn't kill Jennifer or Gigi. Yeah, but we kind of knew from the beginning that a lot of people are going to die and more people are going to die. So we're going to have to lose. At this point, we're losing main people because we're out of secondary characters to kill off. How did Grace not know about her mother? Asked Jamal, because she apparently died when she was like a really small kid. I guess that's what you're asking me. Ashley Summer says, did anyone think the Chanel number 5 stew may have contained Gigi parts? Possibly, and that is disgusting. All of that seemed really, really shady. Audrey says, does anyone wonder who Chanel number 4 is? I think we were told who Chanel number 4 is, right? At this point, I'm like totally forgetting. Nat says Chanel number 3 could be the killer. She could be adopted and made it the whole Charles Manson thing because she didn't know who her real dad was. Though maybe she is the target and not the killer. See? How confusing is this? Like I said, Nadia said the dean ate the bologna. Well, I think that we knew from a couple of episodes ago that she wasn't really allergic, right? I'm getting confused on that. But wasn't she lying about being allergic to the bologna? Yeah, they do a bunch of research, says Jamal. So yeah, it's really difficult. I just want to take a little time out and say that if you are new here, if you're watching and you haven't commented and you're new, that's totally fine. Please subscribe to my channel so you don't miss the next few weeks, the next couple of weeks with this show where we are really going to figure everything out. And I think that our live shows are even going to get better, even though they're amazing right now. So I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel. And I am going to film later tonight my theory and review video on last night's episode. So I will have that up sometime tomorrow. And I would love it if you guys would watch. Okay, so Mark says Chanel Oberlin just said Chanel number 4 got sick and died in the pilot. Feels like we're going to get an appearance from 4 pretty soon. Yeah. I had totally forgotten what they said about Chanel 4, but I think you're on the right track there. I think we will find out. I don't think it's just randomly this person's missing and nobody cares. I think you're right. Gokai says, what did you think of Chanel number 5's meat stew? No, I would not eat that. Considering she put toenails in cookies, I don't know what she might have put in this, and she's kind of crazy. Dren says they just mentioned she died. Chanel number 4, yeah. So hopefully we'll find more out. Yeah, it looks like all the food they had at that meal. And I mean, I thought it was gross when the dean was like chopping off the turkey's head, which I know wasn't a real turkey, and I know that has to be done. But anyway, just that they showed it. Okay, Sammy feels like Grace's mom is the Red Devil and they lied that she died. Well, I definitely think she's alive. I don't love that idea. Not your idea, Sammy, but if the show goes with the idea that that is the Red Devil, that kind of bums me out because we don't know her mom at all. We just kind of saw her in a flashback. Tony says maybe a Wes versus Pete showdown next week. That would be so cool. I would love that. Sammy says Boone is Wes's son, right? Yeah, I'm pretty sure that Wes, after last night's episode, Wes is the dad of the twins and of Grace. Nadia says I was saying she basically told on herself for killing her husband. Oh, yes, she did. I wonder if any of the characters caught that. Yeah, she totally did. Good job. Kay's asking about the PLL special. I have not watched it. I just, I've been out of town, so I've been trying to catch up on everything. I'm going to watch it, Kay. I have it on DVR, and I'm going to do a video on it, and I'm hoping to get that up by the end of this week, because with Thanksgiving being tomorrow, I'll be a little bit more busy than normal, so hopefully I will get that up soon. But yes, I'm trying to get that up very soon for you. I haven't watched it, but I heard people didn't really like it, but I don't know. Nee says Grace, Zayday, Denise, and the Dean are going to survive, and maybe Chanel number 5. So you think her dad's going to be killed, and Pete? It's going to be hard. Like just think of the people that are going to have to be killed off pretty soon, which makes me kind of sad because I like a lot of these people. My number 1 RD prediction, Kay is asking, well, it's been Grace for the longest time. But then after last night's episode, I felt like I needed to change that to Chanel 5. But now I talk to you guys and I'm confused again, so I don't know. I feel like I'm going crazy at this point. Jennifer says we never really found out the dad of the twins. No, we do, because last night, we don't know for sure, but Pete said that it was Wes, and he thinks it could be possible. Nee says that, I read that already. I'm trying to go back and see what I haven't read. Yeah, PLL is also dead to me. I am going to, if you guys are wondering who are PLL fans, I am going to cover the show when it starts again in January. We'll see where it goes, but I don't have any hope for it. But I will do reviews like I would do on any other show. But again, if I don't like it, I'm going to be completely honest with you, because I have no reason to lie and pretend to like it when I don't, because that's not what I would ever do. Nadia says Wes. Oh, very good point, Nadia. The fact that Wes was spray painting those cameras seemed very suspicious to me. Now, he tried to say it was because he was stealing meat, but I don't buy that either, okay? Nadia says it's Grace, Pete, and the Dean. I guess you are thinking those are the people involved in the murders. I could definitely see that. Definitely. Jamal is confused. Sammy says, I'm also confused. Sammy says number 1 RD is Chanel 5. Definitely see that happening. Nat says, how could Chanel number 5 manage to make a stew if she didn't have access to her house because her family was on vacation? Well, that's an epic comment there that I agree with. Great point. It's not like she went and bought that somewhere. So where did she make it? Maybe she made it at the hotel. Maybe she took the ingredients and made it at the hotel. Kay says this show does a really good job getting us attached to the characters. Like, I don't want them to die. I agree with you. At this point, I don't want anyone else to die because I like most of those people. So it's going to be hard to see them go, you know? Brittany thinks Chanel 1, 3, and 5 are going to survive, and the next season will be staged at a prison. Well, I don't think the next season will be related to this season at all. If it is, just like in a really small way. But I think they're going to do this show like American Horror Story. If you watch that, you would know that every season is a totally different theme, and they may have some of the same actors, but they are playing new people with new names, and it's a different setting, and it's all different unless they're not going there. But I think that's what they're going to do. Tony says that Grace covered up really fast too, saying, oh yeah, you've been looking good lately. That is true. Saying that her dad looked like he'd been working out or whatever. We just have a couple minutes left, but I'm going to try to get to more of your comments, or as many as I can. Sammy feels like Wes knows who the RDs are. I felt like Wes was very sneaky and has been somehow involved in the entire time. Why would anyone care that he was stealing the meat? He said himself that they don't eat it anyways. Good point, HM. I don't think any of those girls would care because they've been eating cotton balls and sauce. So why try to hide it? That was really shady. I do think that is definitely a clue. Nadia says the room service turkey was really small. What did they say it was? Like pheasant or something? Or quail? It was funny, but I think even like Gigi was surprised. And I also thought it was funny, like the guy who brought the food, he was so scared because he saw the red devil and he was like trying to get out of there. Yeah, it wasn't a turkey, but he was trying to get out of there like really quickly because he was like, okay. Brittany says the creator of the show said they will take the remaining characters and put them in a different setting. So are they going to continue with the story, you think, or what? I don't know. Maybe he's doing this different than American Horror Story. Ashley says, my friend told people on Reddit are saying the other killer could be Pete, but he transitioned from female to male. I've heard that before too. I can't, if they're going to have 2 different shows with the same plot line, please don't go there. Dren says Ryan Murphy said there's going to 5 characters survive. They will be the same characters, the same people. Okay. So yeah, he's going to do this different than American Horror Story. So we're going to somewhat continue the story, I guess. That's kind of interesting. I kind of like that, actually. All right. Yeah, Jennifer says Reddit's always wrong. And if you didn't know that, then you should have read all the stuff about the PLL stuff that never ever happened. So it's time, sadly, for me to say goodbye. And I just want to tell you guys first, if you're in America and you are celebrating Thanksgiving tomorrow, I hope you have a wonderful holiday and a great Black Friday. If you go out shopping, I hope you find lots of deals. Thank you so much for being here tonight. If you're not in America, I still hope you have a wonderful weekend coming up and maybe get some time off from school or work pretty soon. If I missed your comment or if I didn't have time for it, just comment on this video. It should be up in like 5 minutes on my channel. I will go back and comment on all of these comments. And again, my video will be up tomorrow from last night's episode of my review and predictions and all that stuff. So thank you so much for being here, and I love you guys so much, and I will see you tomorrow, okay? Bye, guys.